Hi everyone, welcome to another fantastic edition of Spark Your Business. Today's episode we're going to go over what I'm calling Spark Your Number. So it's about figuring out where you are, where you want to go so that you can create a marketing plan, a trust plan, and an overall strategy for your business. So this isn't part of my regular series. So we have the 5-step series. This is actually some pre-work, and you're going to see that it goes into a lot of detail that you have to work on your own. This would be like a full day workshop. And I just want to show you an overview of the things that you need to think about when you're starting your business or when you're in your business, and just to see how do you make it a business that's scalable, that you can grow, that you can hire more people and make a fantastic business out of, so that you can live the life that you want to live. So let's get started. I'm going to do a screen share. And as always, whether you're on YouTube or watching from Google Plus or Facebook, feel free to leave some comments so that I can answer them for you later. Just grabbing the right screen. There we go. Okay, so we're talking about sparking our numbers. So the questions we're going to be answering are: where are you now and where do you want to be? What are you going to offer? Who's already doing that? What are your costs and what is your customer worth? So this series, like I mentioned before, was actually created because I've been talking to a lot of new entrepreneurs, and sometimes they would have a great business that they love doing, but their numbers didn't work, or they hadn't seen the whole picture, so they didn't see how their business might not be set up in the way that that's sustainable. So the first thing we're going to look at is where are you now compared to where you want to be. And if you figure out that metric, then you know how to get to where you want to be. So it's really important to take inventory of what you're doing right now. So if you do a market analysis, so this is a lot of information, but I'm going to show you how to break it down really easily, so in something that you can see. So we want to talk about what are the benefits to your customer. You want to think about the pain or problem that you're solving. You want to have an idea of what your marketplace is like. So is this something that a lot of people will benefit from, or is it just a really small thing that you're going to do for like a year and then you're going to move on to something else? So even if the market isn't big, you need to know these things to give you an idea of where you are or what kind of business you're going to run. Where are your customers getting what you're offering right now? What kind of different things are they getting? So for example, if you're like a movie theater, what you want to compare yourself to is what other entertainment is out there. So people are going to pick the movie theater. It's not that you're competing with all movie theaters, is that you're competing with people going to a restaurant, people going to work out after work, things like that. So where are your customers? How are you going to find them? Why would they buy from you? And how many of those customers that you're identifying are going to buy from you? And then here's some other things that sometimes people don't consider. So what external factors influence your industry? So for example, people who were selling email lists last year can't do that anymore because of new government regulations. So how does the government or the industry affect what you do? How long will this opportunity last? So is this like something you have to do right now because there's a new law change coming up, or is it something that can last forever? Or is it something that's coming up and you want to get ready for it? What keeps new competition from entering the market? So this one's important to see. So if you're starting something new, who else can do that? And how is it hard to get into the market? And if it's not, you're going to have a lot of competitors. So you want to think about all those different things. And is this a product or service that can be expanded? So can you grow? Those are all really important questions to ask. In terms of human resources, that's you right now. So is this business right for me? What are my interests? What are my values? Do my skills and abilities fit the business? So when we're talking about values, it's really important because in the end, you'll figure out that all your values relate to your business. So they'll relate to the people that you want to hire, the way that you want to sell your product. It's all going to be based on your values because that's kind of a long-term way to see your business, and it's going to keep you in it for the long term. So if your business is just like working for a company and your values don't align with them, after a while, you just won't be able to do it anymore. What are the skills that you need that you might not have? So you might have to hire people, or you might have to learn the skills. If you're a really savvy entrepreneur, you're going to want to do what you do best and then bring a team around you. So you want to identify those skills or things that you need that you currently don't have. And then again, who would I need to hire, when, and how much would it cost? So we're going to look at a business model canvas to look at how we can lay this all out in an easy way. And I'm going to show you how to fill that out. So we're doing another screen share. And here's the business model canvas. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so we're just going to go section by section. So, so this is, I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. So you can see the whole thing, and then we'll go into sections. So the business model canvas, there's a standard business model canvas that a lot of MBAs or different business people use, and I've actually modified it based on my experience as an entrepreneur and the best way to explain or pull out what's great about your company. So I have some techniques around the solution you provide and the problem you solve, and we're gonna look at that in the next series. So that's next week, but I want to talk about it now so that you can start thinking about it. So the solution you provide, the questions here are, if you think of your greatest success story, you think of one particular customer that you've worked with. What specific results did they get from working with you? And then what other transformations happened in their life because of these results? So you want to think about all those solutions that you provide your customer, and we're going to do a workshop on that next week. The other one is the problem you solve. What was your customer struggling with? What might have happened to your customer if they didn't work with you? And what are the short-term or long-term consequences of your customer not working with you? So you can fill those in just with some ideas that you might have, but again, we're going to really go into that because that's it's really important for your marketing later to really identify the solution you provide or the problem you solve in words that your customer uses and understands. So out of the solution you provide and the problem you solve, you're going to fill out your value proposition. So this is the summarizing the transformation you provide. So we'll fill that out right here. And then we have key resources. So that's what we were talking about just now. What are your key resources? What does your business require in order to run? What are the human resources or the customer relationships that you have that's unique to your business? And we just talked about that. So human resources. So maybe you're like an amazing painter and you have this art for customers. So the key resource there is you and your talent. Customer relationships. So maybe you have a relationship with this amazing group of women. So if you're the painter who are art collectors, so you have an amazing relationship with an art collector or an art gallery. So that gives you a good advantage over your competitor. We're going to go back up here for key partners. So who might be your key partners and suppliers, and what activities do your partners perform? So with key partners, you want to look at who can you partner with. So who are the influencers in your industry? So if we're talking about that painter, some influencers might be, so for example, people who buy art, I can make it like a little analogy here. People who buy art like to go to fundraisers. So maybe some key partners would be that you can showcase your work at a silent auction. Key partners, so who else buys art? Maybe people who like expensive jewelry might buy art. So those are like different influencers in your industry or in where your customers hang out. We're going to move to the side here to customer segments. And so this is finding out who your customers are. So who are you creating value for and who are the most important customers? And when you're talking about customer segments, so these can be different segments. So a painter, an artist might target corporate customers. So that's a customer segment that you can go into and think about, and where would you find them and who are they? You can target nonprofits because they might showcase your work or they might buy it for their walls. And then there's the end customer. You might target them, or you might target maybe golf courses to showcase your work. I've seen art at cafes. So again, these are different customer segments. Next, we want to look at channels, which is down here. So how are you going to reach your customers, and how are you going to reach your key influencers, or are you going to reach your customers through your key influencers? Where are they? So channels might be Facebook, LinkedIn, they might be magazines. So it's all the areas that you can reach your customer, and you want to make an inventory of all the places where you can do that. And you can inventory key influencers because here they're a channel. So if you want to reach 1,000 people on somebody's email database, your key influencer would be your channel to do that. In the middle, we have key metrics. That's really important. So what are you going to track to know that you're achieving success? So one of the things that a lot of entrepreneurs miss is that they don't track their success metrics, or when things are going wrong, how do you know they're going wrong? So so say you send a Facebook post. There's so many stats online now that you can track. You send a Facebook post, how many people read it, and then how many people called you because of it. So you need to track all that, have a little spreadsheet and say, okay, every time I send a Facebook post, I get a new customer. So what does that mean? That maybe I should be putting a strategy around writing posts, like blog posts on Facebook. And you can even check what kind of posts get people to call you back. So if I just write a comment about my dog, maybe that doesn't get you any new customers. Maybe it does. But if you write a blog post about, so back to the artist, so what kind of oils she or he uses to paint, so maybe that got customers. Or maybe if the artist wrote an article about all the different ways you can display art or where you can display it, and that got more customers, then you want to write more articles about that. So that's where key metrics comes in, and you want to make sure you have Google Analytics on your website, and that you're tracking how many people you meet when you go out networking, and how many people you call, and things like that. At the bottom of our business model canvas is our cost structure. So what are the important costs to having our business? Which key resources are most expensive, and which key activities are most expensive? And the reason you want to know that is because you want to know how to reduce your costs as much as possible and figure out a way. So say you're writing a blog post for your own business, and your time is worth like $150 an hour, because when you're working on as an artist, when you're working on your painting, you're going to make more money, for example, than writing a blog post that might take you 2-3 hours just because it's not your thing. So those are resources, and you might want to outsource those important things that you need to do to grow your business. Those are key activities and key resources. So another resource might be your space that you paint out of. So maybe you've decided you want to be in an artist space, and because you're going to meet people there, so you got to track, okay, am I actually meeting people? Am I getting customers out of this space, or should I move home? Revenue streams on this side, what are your customers willing to pay? What do they currently pay, and how are they paying? How would they prefer? So you want to think about all the different ways to get paid, to get money. Do you do packages? Does the artist sell 10 paintings at once, or is it one by one? What's the model, and how are you going to make money? So that's the business model canvas, and we'll talk about each of these little areas in a second here. So we just want to talk about the whole canvas at once, and then I'm going to show you how you can think about filling it out. So back to our presentation. So we've done a review of the business model canvas. Next, we want to talk about where do you want to be. So you're making an inventory of where you are now, and you want to think about where you're going so that you can make so that you can measure and so that you can make a plan to where you're going. So we're going to look at a client attraction formula. So for those of you in my Spark Your Business Bootcamp, I'm going to send you all these sheets so that you can fill them out yourself. I'm going to do another screen share to my client attraction formula. You get to see me in between every screen share. Put that back up. There we go. So this is a total formula for client attraction. So again, I'm going to zoom in. Okay, so again, I'm going to give these sheets out so you can work on it. Oh, this is better. There we go. Okay, so the point of the client attraction formula is that you want to look at what your goals are, what the space is in between what you're doing now and what your goal is, and then how to get there. So for example, I'm going to say I'm a business coach and my goal is to have $6,000 a month. So this is the example that doesn't change, and this is your business coach. She wants to make $6,000 a month. So currently she's only got one client and she's got $350 a month. So the difference between $6,000 and $350 is $5,650. So that's the goal that we're working towards. So your fastest path to cash is what is your highest product worth. So the product that you sell most. So say the coach sells a $1,000 package. So 10 coaching sessions for $1,000. So let's just change this to $1,000. And how many new clients do you need to meet your monthly revenue? So this automatically calculates. So it's the difference between the difference that you're trying to get to and what's your highest product value. So she needs 6 clients a month to get to that goal. So what does she need to do? She needs to talk to a certain number of people to get that goal. So how many clients do you need to meet your revenue? It's the same number as above. So it's 6 clients. So the business coach needs 6 clients. The number of strategy sessions. So for every client, how many strategy sessions do you have? So So we're going to have 3 strategy sessions to change each client. So we're working backwards from the top. So instead of saying, okay, I just need to meet 100 people this week and I'm going to get some sales out of it, you want to actually figure out the numbers behind everything. So she needs to have 3 strategy sessions to get 6 clients. So sorry, let me say that again. For every strategy session, she has 3. For every 3 clients you have a strategy session with, 1 will become a paying client. So that means her conversion rate is 33%. So what that means, so in number 7 here, is that she needs to put 17 people through a strategy session in order to get 6 clients out of it. Okay, so we'll keep working backwards here. The number of potential clients. So for every potential client you ask to give a strategy session, how many say yes? So again, this is our conversion. So we're going to say 1 in 3 people say yes. So there's the 3 there, or 33%. And then what does that mean? Working backwards again, how many people do you need to ask for them to become a potential client? So you need to talk to 51 people, and then 1 out of 3 of those people will go into a strategy session, and 1 out of 3 of those people will become that high-end client. Okay, so maybe the 51 people are like, you talk to 51 people at a networking event, and then 1 in 3 are like, oh yeah, I want to learn more about what you do. So you pull them into your strategy session, that's 17 people, and then 1 in 3 will say, yes, I want to buy your high-end package. So that's 6. So let's keep going with this example. You've got your timeline. So how many days do you want to reach your goal? So you can have 60 days or 90 days, and the formula changes depending on that. The number of people you need to ask on the daily basis is 1. So in this case, the coach needs to talk to 1 person every day. So for example, if we change this to, okay, I want to make that amount of money in 60 days. Oops. She needs to talk to 1 person. We change it to 30 days. She needs to talk to 2 people a day. Okay, so that's how the formula works. So achieving your goals online. So when we're talking about this, the whole picture here, a lot of it is done online. So what you need to do is figure out how many people to attract to your website. So if you're trying to have a goal of $6,000 a month, your highest product we said was 1,000. You need to sell 6 units or 6 sessions to get to that goal. And now here's where all the metrics come in. So if your sales page gets an 8% conversion, then you need 75 people to your sales page. If your blog gets a 25% conversion, you need 300 people on your blog each month. Okay, and if your, say your keywords, your total searches get a 10% conversion, that means you need 3,000 people searching to get to your blog, to get to your sales page, to get to your strategy session. Does that, I hope that makes sense. So for example, so again, when I talked about the Facebook page, so how many, when you post a blog or a comment or something valuable on your Facebook page, how many people click over to your website? So that's where all these numbers come in. So they click over to your website, they read the full blog. So here it is. And then 25% of those people will go to your sales page. So here it is. And then that's how many you need to get 6 people to sign up for the strategy session, for example. So it doesn't have to go right to the big package. So maybe you need people to sign up to the strategy session. And that's where this formula here kicks in. So those are part of the 17 people that go to the strategy session, and then you sell them onto your bigger package. So that this works for any business. So whether it's a coach or a makeup artist or a furniture designer, what this is you change the word strategy session to, so for example, the makeup artist might do, the strategy session is her makeup parties, and then she will have a package where she's doing more one-on-one work, and that's her big package, and that's where she wants to get those 6 clients into. The furniture designer wants to have a strategy session for interior decorators or her target market, and so she needs to talk to this many people to get them into some kind of a meeting. So a strategy session could also be like a demo, a one-on-one, all kinds of stuff. And this is how the numbers work. So to figure out your conversion rate, because you're only going to know your conversion rate based on your own statistics, it's how many clients you have, and then divided by how many strategy sessions convert into those clients. And that's where you figure out your conversion rate. So these are hypothetical percentages, all the blue numbers. are hypothetical percentages here. And that's what you're going to know after doing a couple of strategy sessions or having a couple of demos and see, okay, and when you track everything, you'll know, okay, I talked to this many people this month, and this is how many people actually called me on the phone to talk more about my business, and now this is how many clients I have. And that is so important, because you don't know what you're doing right or wrong if you're not tracking your numbers. So that is the client attraction formula. It's a really cool formula. Back to our presentation. Okay, so now we want to talk about who else is already offering what you're doing. So you have competitors and you have influencers, and you want to think about how you're different. So in our business model canvas, there's the area where we write down your unique service offering. So you want to really think about, or you want to take a really good look at what your competitors are doing, and you could do Google searches on them. There's a lot of things that you can do to see what's happening with your competitors and how are they reaching their customers, which are also your customers. So that's a good thing to do. And sometimes an industry or say the makeup artist will have some people who are competitors, but they're like in a whole, like, so they're in LA, for example. So you're a makeup artist in Calgary and your competitors are in LA. They're not really competitors, but it's somebody that you can take a look at and see what they're doing without, stepping on any toes, for example. So you can even reach out to people in other cities and say, hey, I would love to brainstorm with you. This is what I'm doing. And since we're not in competing industries, but we're doing the same thing, let's share best practices. And I've heard of people doing that in various industries, and it works really well. So the thing with competitors is that you want to see what they're doing, how they're doing it. You want to see where they're doing it. So are they on Facebook? So if somebody posts an event, then you want to search for that event and see where they posted it. And you just really want to research what they're doing so that you can figure out how you're different. So are they missing something that you have a unique talent for and that you can offer? That's going to be really important to find out. The other thing that you want to look at in who else is doing what you offer is the influencers. So I already talked about the people who are doing what you're doing in another city or another country that you can talk to and maybe make friends, alliances with, and share best practices. And then with the influencers is who influences your target market. So for example, we're going back to the business coach. So the business coach is specifically a coach for executives in oil and gas. So an influencer there might be if they're engineers, it might be like the Association of Engineers, right? So if you're a business coach just for landscapers, you might, your influencers might be the Landscaping Association. So when you're looking at influencers, you can look online too and see who's got a blog or where do these people hang out. So a makeup artist, influencers might be people who they relate to something to do with makeup, but they're not a makeup artist. So maybe a brand is an influencer. So all your people might be hanging out on the Lancome blog or on the Lancome Facebook page, or so you got to be a little bit creative there to see where you can see what those influencers are doing or connect with them. And again, in the marketing section of Spark Your Business, we're going to talk about how you can reach out to influencers, how you can introduce yourself without saying, hey, I'm starting my business, come sponsor me. That's not the right way to make a relationship. You have to slowly build your credibility. And again, goes back to that trust formula. You got to build your credibility with influencers so that they sponsor your company or help you out in some way. So that's a really important way to grow your business. So now what are your costs? So when you're figuring out where you are now and where you want to be, you really have to take a look at what all your costs are, because as you grow your business, you are going to have more costs. So it might be great to think, oh yeah, this is awesome. I'm going to get from $500 to $6,000, but you don't realize sometimes what the cost involved in growing a company. So now you need customer service, or you need people, appointment scheduling, or whatever it is that you need to scale. You need to scale everything. So if you want to get to those 6 people a month, that maybe you need more blog writing and all those things. So you need to really figure out what your costs are. And this again is super important, because I've seen entrepreneurs who are already started their business. They're luckily, I caught one right before she printed her business cards and spent all this money on marketing and advertising. And we did the what are your costs exercise, and she realized that she was actually losing money on every sale. So she had to go and reevaluate what she was doing, how she was offering it, and how she was going to make money. So we got to make money, otherwise we're going to get shut down by the people who love us. So the financial analysis is, will this venture be worthwhile financially? Super important question that a lot of really enthusiastic, talented, passionate entrepreneurs don't look at. So what's your sales projection for the first year? Are there any fixed or variable costs? So your fixed cost might be your phone line, your cell phone, your website hosting. Variable cost would be something that relates to your customer, that changes every time you sell something to the customer. So variable cost might be maybe printing as a variable cost if you're not always printing flyers, or say a makeup artist lets people use or she buys like disposable brushes for her clients. So those are variable costs. So gross and net margin. So how much money are you, how much money does it cost you to run your business, and how much profit are you making? And then how many expenses do you have? So according to research and industry statistics, an attractive opportunity is at least 10 to 15% margin. And then some things like information products or things that you can do online have 100% margin. So you can charge $50, or I mean, it costs you $50 and you can charge $100, $200. So you just have to figure out the value proposition to your customer. What are your assets and pre-startup expenses, and can you raise capitals to start this venture? So raising capital might be borrowing money from your savings, or if you're having a bigger operation, you might have to borrow from the bank or borrow from friends, family, or eventually raise money to have a really big operation. So we also want to talk about risks. What are your financial risks? There's a break-even analysis. How many things do you have to sell to break even? It's really important to figure out. When somebody's having an event, for example, you always want to figure out, what is my break-even number? So I need 25 people at my event in order to pay for all the costs. And you got to think about all the costs when you're looking at a break-even number. For a business, you want to figure this out on a monthly basis. What is my payback? So if you have if you've taken out a loan from the bank and you think it's going to last you about a year, how are you going to pay it back, and how are you going to calculate that? So I had talked to a customer this week, and he was telling us about they got funding for $1 million, and then they weren't able. They did everything they had to do, but they weren't able to grow the business the way that they needed to. They weren't able to pay it back, and so the business really didn't go anywhere, even though they had $1 million of funding. So it doesn't matter how much money you get. It's how you work your numbers and how you manage your business. So even if somebody poured their whole bank account right on you, it doesn't mean that you're going to be successful if you're not looking at what your numbers are doing. So return on investment. So what money are you putting in, and what profit are you getting out of it? Risk versus reward. So what's your personal feeling on the risk? So if you're putting your mortgage up to run your business, maybe that's not what you want to do. Maybe that's not worth it for you. So you need to evaluate where you are with that. Opportunity cost, we talked about that before, just in the little blog scenario. Can you get a better return somewhere else, or can you, so yeah, so can you get a better way of doing things? But again, in your overall business, the opportunity cost is this the right business for you, or is it better if you work on another business or another business model because it's going to give you a better return? And then, like we talked about, the personal financial risk. What do you have to give up financially to start this business? And I have a little worksheet. Before we go into what is your customer worth to you, I have a financial analysis worksheet that I just want to quickly walk through to show you some of the things that you need to consider. So doing a screen share again. And on this one, we're talking about the income statement. So in an income statement, you want to look at your sales and then your cost of goods sold, your controllable expenses, fixed expenses. So the controllable expenses is maybe a variable expense. And then you want to do like a few calculations to figure out where you are. So I just want to show this because I want to show what kind of things you can calculate. So cost of goods sold is what does it cost you to sell your service? So beginning inventory. So this is for somebody who's selling product, but if you're selling services, you want to say things like, okay, how long did it take me to do an assessment on this company, or how long did it take me to run these parties? How much inventory do I have to, so I'm talking about the makeup artist, how long did it take me to run these parties? So that's $50, $100 of my time. And I bought this many products to bring to the party or to showcase. So my makeup's getting depleted. So that those are all the costs that you want to look at there. Controllable expenses are your salary. So if you're paying yourself $50 an hour, maybe you can pay yourself 75. So, you know, that's where it changes. Employees' wages, if you're hiring someone to write your blogs, if you're hiring somebody to work on your website or do different things for you. So that's going to be some expenses there. Supplies and postage or office expenses, advertising. Bad debt means how many people, so if I've served 20 people, how many people are not paying me? So you put like a minus number here, and out of, you know, the bigger you get, the hundreds and hundreds of people you serve, there's going to be some problems with people not paying. That's just how business goes. So you have to take those calculations into consideration. Travel, how much cost do I incur in getting to the place, or maybe I'm going to do like a trade show, things like that. So there's all these different kinds of costs. Legal and accounting, and I would put insurance in here too, or we have a fixed expense at the bottom. But legal and accounting is going to be, you don't know when you're going to have legal or accounting expenses, and they always change. So if you do your taxes every year and your business taxes with an accountant, it's going to be a little bit different. So those are your controllable expenses, or things that are a little bit different sometimes. So they can go up or they can go down. Fixed expenses is your rent. So if you're renting a facility, or if maybe you've got like a suite number at the UPS store. So those kind of things. Your utilities, what it costs you to run your business, telephone, taxes, depreciation. So that's if you buy a computer, and you can talk to your accountant about that, what depreciates, or if you have equipment that you're using. Interest, that's an expense. So if you're borrowing money and you're paying interest, you can write that off. And insurance. So insurance is a really big, I just really want to highlight that, because a lot of newer business owners don't get insurance, and there's a lot of liability when you're doing business with people. So you want to make sure that you get the right insurance for what you're doing. So again, I'm just going to go back to the makeup artist because that's really easy. Do you have insurance when you do makeup parties at other people's houses? Are you insured for that? The business coach, are they insured to go into somebody's workplace, or if they're coming to you, like what if they slip and fall? There's like a million things you got to think about. So you just want to have some kind of basic insurance, or at least investigate that and know what your liabilities are. For the interior designer, what if you just totally break something in there, break the kitchen faucet, I don't know, and are you covered under that? So as a small business owner, often insurance gets left behind because it feels like a waste of time, and it's a waste of time until you need it. So there's your calculations, and then so you can calculate your total operating expenses, which is the expenses of your controllable expenses, your fixed expenses, and then your profit or loss. And you can even do a calculation of your estimated tax, because you want to put money away every month from the profit you make. So again, an entrepreneur mistake is forgetting that maybe 30% of your money needs to go into a different bank account to pay for taxes. When I first ran my studio, my dance studio, I made a ton of money, and then at the end of the year, I totally forgot about taxes. And because I made a ton of money, it was a lot of money that I owed. So that's a huge thing. And we talk to business owners all the time. Like, they could be making $1 million a year, and then they're like, oh, oops, I have to pay my taxes. So I need to go look for more business and like working into the future to pay last year's taxes. So that's really important. So we're going to go back to our screen share. Actually, I'm just going to go straight from this document to the lifetime value, so I don't have to change screen share. So with the lifetime value of a customer, what's really important here is, what is your customer worth to you? So we're just going to go through a little exercise here, and then that actually gives you some ideas of how much money you can spend looking for a customer. Because if your customer is worth $100, maybe you spend $10 to find that customer. But if your customer is worth like $2,000, then you know that it's worth spending a little bit more money, and you need to calculate, again, you need to calculate that amount. So how much is your average service sale? So how much do you sell on average? So this isn't your highest package, this is your average sale. So let's say it's $1,000, just to make it easy. Your average sale is $1,000. And then how long will the customer use the service? So this is, for example, a website package in this example here. So a website designer might charge $1,000 for a website package, or $1,000 a year, for example. So the customer is going to use it for 5 years. Do you provide additional services? So what are all the other little things that you sell that could go with a website package? So maybe you sell marketing services, maybe you sell social media, so all those different little services. And so you want to list them here in this line. So this example, it's $99. And how often does the customer make a purchase of that $99 product? So this 3 times a year. This should not be a number. Okay, so the purchase is 3 times a year. And what's the average cost of any services that are renewed or have to be repurchased every year? So in this case, the website package was $1,000 the first year, and then $500 every year for 5 years, right? So this is the life of your product. And on average, how many referrals does that customer make as a result of the sale? So say I'm the website designer, I haven't really worked on my referrals, so they do about 1. And you're going to see how important the referrals are here. We're going to look at that in a second. So how much profit do you make off each sale? So say the website designer makes 75% profit on that 1,000. They do a page on Wix or Weebly, and then they charge $1,000. So let's say that's the example. Okay, so then here's some calculations on services. So if we think about services, the average sale is $1,000. The amount of time the service is used is 5 years. So other sales, so this is actually just the same formula as above. And we're just entering the numbers in here. So this is how it gets calculated. So how many years does the customer use the service? 5 years. And additional services is $14.89. So that would be that $99 additional service times 3, because they purchase it 3 times a year. And so that would be 3, and then times 5 because they had it for 5 years. And the average cost of services that have to be renewed every year. So now this is the $500 is renewed every year for 5 years. So that's $2,500. So the total sum is $4,985 in this example. And that's how much my customer is worth. So that one customer, but if they refer one person to me, now that doubles, because every customer is worth, let's say, almost $5,000. So that number doubles. So now this one customer is worth $10,000, and I make 75% as the web designer. And so that means that the customer is worth a profit of $7,477. So you can see how important this formula is to figure out. So again, if we're talking about the business coach, let's see. So the business coach, what's the average sale? So we said in the other example, it was $1,000 for the high-end package. So let's say the middle package is $500. And then how long does the customer use the service? So maybe a customer comes back for 5 years before they just never show up again. What additional services? We can keep this. Let's say it's $20. They get a book, or they get some other little things there. So how often do they make the purchase of these additional services? So let's say they take like a course every couple of months, and it costs them $20 just to make it really easy. So every couple of months, or maybe they're going to do it 6 times in a year. Every year they're going to spend $500. So every year they renew their package of coaching services for $500, and they just renew it once. So that's 5 years, once every 5 years. How many referrals? So say this coach always gets like 2 or 3 referrals from the same person. So she's working a little bit harder on her referrals, and her profit is 75% because it's her time, and or let's say it's 50% just to have fun with it. So these are the results. So her customer is worth $3,600. If she gets 3 referrals, then her customer is worth $14,000. And then if at 50% profit, she makes $7,000. So you can see how when you look at your numbers, you can change certain things. So say she could figure out how to reduce her time somehow, maybe do group coaching. So it's 75% profit. So in that case, the customer is worth $14,400. It's $10,000 here. The other number didn't change. Say she got like a whole bunch of referrals, or less. Let's say she got less referrals, 1 referral per customer. So the number goes down to 5,000. So that's a huge change in numbers. So just by getting 3 more referrals, it went from 10,000 to 5,000. So I just want you to notice here how important referrals are. And you know that the value, if you just spend 10% on your customer, for example here, so marketing for your customer, you want to spend about $500 per each customer, so to get each customer. And then again with the referrals, if you spend 1 referral, you make, this coach would make $2,700, and if she did 2 referrals, $5,400. So that is where the numbers come in, and it's super important to know them. And again, we're going to talk about referrals in a different module and how you can maximize that. So back to our screen share, we're just about done. So what's your customer worth? We figured that out. And that is really the end of this presentation. And just want to remind everybody that your next module is Spark Your Why. So what transformations you provide, and getting clear on who you serve, what's your hero's journey, and what you're passionate about, what you do. And the reason we want to look into that is because you're going to find the language that your customer wants to hear when they're talking about, or when they're listening to what you have to say, and how it relates to them. Then we have Spark Your Brand. So it's about communicating your brand and understanding design and things like that. So now that you know where you are and what you're offering, then you can actually start working on your branding. Using your website as a tool to gain trust. We've talked about that before, and all the things that we're going to talk about in that episode. And then social media, creating a plan. Now that you've got all the tools, you've got your branding, you've got your marketing message, you know where you are and where you're going to go, you can start working on all these different things. And the last one is, can you do workshops with your business? So again, looking at that referral number and the lifetime value of your customer, how can you reduce your cost by doing group work? That's it for today. Thanks, everybody. Hope you had a great lunch and learn.